Hey y'all, Grown Black Folks Talk back out on the climb. Beautiful late spring day, but we're gonna see how long this wind is gonna let us be great because I've already done about an hour of walking, and of course, the afternoon. We have a name for it in San Francisco. We call it the Hawk. The Hawk's arrival is imminent. So we're gonna see how long this wind is gonna let us be great over here. I wanted to drill down on something that we touched on in a previous video. About Mr. Gray and how he's the kind of man, the dynamic person, does not want a woman, wants it a mate, because although he is resistant, he asked for something for 4 years for some company owners to do for him in terms of mixing a particular pigment, and he's a genius because in his mind's eye, he saw how beautiful this was going to be. But the thing was, in 4 years, he could have invested in himself, gotten the money together, made the experiment, found out the color was beautiful, and started his own thing. He left 100% of the value of what he did on the table. And when Ebony K. Williams was talking about, I want to be the bus owner, not the bus driver, Elijah Van Sant, who is an asset builder herself, missed that. And so did most of the men and women that started arguing about it. That's just two different mindsets. The mindset of people that are waiting on someone else to do for them, and the mindset of people that are ready to take their ideas and work them all the way out. That's just two different mindsets. And a man who is in the begging, waiting on somebody else's mindset cannot lead a woman who is of creative mindset, because once they're married, got pillow talk. Men like to think they're the only people that generate ideas. Half the human race's good ideas came from women. Period. Because women are half the human race. And also, we're going to put to bed the idea from the beginning that men are natural leaders. They are not. If they were, then actual leaders, as they occur in history, would not be so rare. No, human beings are naturally followers. That's men and women. So just because there's a man and a woman in the room, just because he happens to have a male member down there, does not mean he is naturally the leader. Only very immature, weak men think of this as the case, because we know that's even in the military. There's a difference between an enlisted man and an officer. There's training. There's a training difference. There's a responsibility difference. There's an assessment of people over you that see the quality of your leadership. And if you get promoted, then there's also a quiet assessment for, did you get people back alive? Did you follow orders? Did your mission work successfully? Can you lead and success from above you and below you? And this is the thing. If you online begging other people to do stuff for you, you don't qualify. You may not be able to lead, but you may not be able to follow. Because what you want to do is have someone else do for you. So either one of them is a danger. Let me illustrate this, okay? Because I know many of us think in terms of relationships, and I don't talk about that any more than a woman still married should be to the man who cheated on her should be offering a $7,000 course. I don't talk a lot about relationships because I'm not qualified to do that. I'm single. But I'll put it in terms that we understand. I'm 42 years old, and I'm someone who is improving my physical situation. So about the same age, military officers who've been in the military are generally retiring. They put in their 20 years. So, 35, 42 starts to happen. So let's say I met 2 lieutenants and a captain. All right? Now, on paper, automatically, we know that the captain has been assessed as a better leader than either of the 2 lieutenants, because more people above him have seen fit to give him more responsibility, and if he was getting his men killed, he never would have made it from 2nd lieutenant to 1st lieutenant to captain. Now, there's other details you have to look at, but you would be correct in assessing that the captain is likely to be the better leader. Now, then you got to sit down and you really have to know who are these men, because you don't need to stop there. And a lot of times the conversation online is very reductive. We assume, both black men and black women assume, on very little things, like if he doesn't have 6 figures, he can't come in the door. Or if I don't have 6 figures, I can't come in the door with a particular type of person. But let's go back to the 2 lieutenants and the captain. If a 2nd lieutenant retires as such 20 years later, something may have happened along the way. There's questions that need to be asked. Why was he never promoted? Did he resign early? Did he have to resign his commission? Did something come up in his life? Was he honorably discharged or dishonorably discharged? What happened? Was he in a career field that does not offer as many promotions? Most of us think about active duty. Well, okay, but he also could be part of the Army Corps of Engineers. He could be part of the Judge Advocate General, JAG. He could be a military lawyer. And in that area, you don't get past captain that often. So if you've seen something of importance, if he found his groove and stayed put there, then he can be a second lieutenant or a first. In 20 years, you might want to get to first lieutenant. And I'm talking about the Army, obviously. So then we need to know something about the captain. Okay, any of these three, were they discharged? Were they honorably discharged? What area were they in? Were any of them in the medical corps? In which case, they may have had a specialty and they didn't need to be promoted. So we're going to assume a lot based on the captain being a captain. And, if we put a major in the mix, or a colonel in the mix, or a general in the mix. But as you go up, these men become rarer. So there are fewer captains available than there are lieutenants, and there are fewer majors than there are captains, and there are fewer colonels than there are majors, and on till you get up into general. There are fewer generals than anything. There are way more enlisted men. So if you just want military man, go find an enlisted man. There's plenty of them. If you want an officer, there's probably more younger second lieutenants. But by the time you get to my age, again, you're looking at more first lieutenants and captains, but there aren't as many of them. So, and then again, you got to look at, medical corps, Judge Advocate General, Army of Engineers. And then, what is his PTSD load? You better get the second lieutenant if he has the lowest PTSD load. Any of these active duty men, if you're a captain, been doing it 20, 30 years, you've been in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iraq again. He may look the best on paper, but you're going to have a life to live. And then you got to look at, is he doing his therapy? And by the way, by the time you've done this assessment, we still have figured out if he actually fits to lead you. My father is a military veteran. Military veterans are hard to live with if you're a sensitive woman. Because they have to learn how to do things in an environment where it's not all order and go. That's not an easy thing to do. My dad is an excellent father. But my mother, my sister, and I had to live with his adjustment as an Air Force veteran to learning how to be tender and gentle. Because again, he was in an environment of men. He was a longshoreman. And an environment of men, you have to learn as you're going. And he did. He did. But it's not easy to do that. That lifestyle is not for everybody. A military leader is not necessarily the best leader for a family. He's not necessarily the best leader for some civilian things. Although veterans tend to make really good business people. So again, because they're organized and focused. So again, like when I buy chocolate, I buy my chocolates from Willie Pete's Chocolate. You make your order, they tell you, if you live in a certain part of the country, you better get the cold pack. We are not taking responsibility for anything that does not get to you in good order when we told you what you need to do. They make some of the finest chocolate. But it's June, and I'm not paying extra for a cold pack for something I don't need to eat anyway. Veteran-run businesses, because sometimes they don't want to be employable. They don't want to work in a civilian environment that's not disciplined. Sometimes they make good businessmen. And they know how to get organized. One of the black women content creators that I admire, Stephanie Perry, is an Army veteran. And you see the way she has an idea and she executes and she teaches us to do the same, some of that background. So there are a lot of things to consider on paper in a situation like that. But to go back to Mr. Gray, again, what you look at there in a leader is the ability to have an idea and execute it. I guarantee you, the second lieutenant, the first lieutenant, the captain, they may have to wait on orders because they're not generals. But I guarantee you, when they know what they need to do, whether the idea came from above them, or maybe a lieutenant or an enlisted man, a warrant officer, I think that's the highest ranking enlisted man in the Army, or a master sergeant, one of those two. If he sees something and brings it to the lieutenant or to the captain, he may have to act on that. But I guarantee you these men don't sit around waiting on someone else. They can't. They can't. And what you need to realize is if you're going to be a 21st century leader, if you don't understand as a man, since this is the position that you want, that you can't be a person who waits around for someone else to generate ideas and to get them to execution, you're not fit to lead. Period. And it's the other thing, ladies, if you want to pass this off to someone else, then are you fit to follow? Are you fit to learn? A man like this needs a different kind of partner. A consumer is going to wear him out. Nobody wants to be a slave. And this is something that black men are very sensitive to, just like black women are. Nobody wants to be someone who generates and executes and come home to someone who doesn't understand. That's just human. That's just human nature. You want someone who understands. They may not be doing it on the same level that you are, but they know how to nurture and maintain it. In the rare cases, but I do know of cases like this, when a woman is creative, those men handle some other things very, very well, support as men support in slightly different ways. They make sure that this woman does not have to worry about her living and her home situation. They make sure that's in place every day. She doesn't have to worry about that. You know, if they have enough money, they have rote tasks perhaps done by someone who would help them. Some people are very creative in terms of adult children. Okay, are you still here? Great, take care of this. People find a way if they intend to work together, but there has to be understanding. But if you're going to lead somewhere, and where you're leading is begging, on paper, Mr. Gray may have a tremendous job. Or maybe. A Miss Gray may have a tremendous job. But the problem is, they want to beg their way off of somebody else. And that ain't gonna get it. Because Miss Gray doesn't want to learn, she just wants to have it handed to her. Mr. Gray doesn't want to execute, he wants to hand it off to somebody else. And those somebody else's will be millionaires and billionaires at Mr. and Miss Gray's expense. While Mr. and Miss Gray will dissolve into fighting each other for not being able to beg off of each other. It is time enough for us to have been in this attitude and mode. It is time for us to realize everybody's got to be practiced in realizing whatever was given them to realize. Everybody's got to be able to do that. And then you're able to find people who are on that same page. And then we can stop having all these arguments going in circles where other people are getting rich off of us. I'm going to be putting up some crypto day things. I know that a lot of stuff I'm talking about is, okay, well, what if I don't see myself yet as a creative? What can I do to get on board? I'm discouraged. I thought about this last night. What do you do? If you can sit out here and make videos, there's something called the Peak D. Blogging is not for you. There's a Hive front end called 3Speak, and there's a Hive front end called Cast Garden. So there's options for you. All you can, if you feel like you're more someone who wants to come on camera and show nature and all the rest of it, you can do that. If you don't know how to do any of that, then you can curate. If you can be on everybody else's channel making comments, if you can learn how to appreciate other people's talent, then yes, the door is still open for you to get your crypto sweat equity. We're going to do another crypto day. I got to find time to get that together. And then I have a drag out there. I see myself losing subscribers because I'm not dragging on the regular, and I don't intend to be. So I see myself losing subscribers. Fare thee well to everybody who's going. Y'all be well. Because over here, we just not going to be involved with foolery. We're not going to do it. I was not called. Christ did not make me his representative to keep y'all in a situation where you just going to be codependent and independent. And I really appreciate those of you who let me know, okay, this is really helping me as I do X. I appreciate y'all letting me know. And I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not. I'm urgent. Because I'm going to say it again, even if the House and Senate gets its life together and gets this thing passed, the next time this come up, either you're going to have the same Joe Biden and probably the same Kevin McCarthy playing around, or you're going to have a Republican president. And if somehow people in the United States are so little invested in what happens to the needs of the poor and the downtrodden, including themselves, because Republicans get a lot of poor voters, and let the Republicans have to pass a budget in the way they want to pass it, you got 2 years before your churches and your institutions are going to be overrun with demands to make up the gaps. And so that means one or the other. You got to be ready to help your own family members, or you got to be ready to get out of Dodge. That's how long you have. 2 years if they pass it today. That's it. And see, they're going to keep playing around with this, but the United States eventually going to hit a number you can't deal with. You either have to cut or default. Eventually we're going to get there. In the long run, the Republicans are likely to win that argument. And if y'all have been paying attention, you know what they want to do. So why are you playing around if you are playing around? And if you're not playing around, this channel is more power to you. Literally. Get your ideas. Execute. Step by step. Now, how would Mr. Gray have done this? First of all, he knew what colors he wanted to mix. So he would have gone ahead and bought them and mixed them and see if there was anything there. And then if he couldn't do it on his car, well, it turns out on the channel they show you how they make a test before they spray it. They have a big wall of black plastic, and they spray their paints on black plastic. They have what's called speed shapes that kind of look like the aerodynamic shapes of cars. They spray those too. So you might not be able to get a car to do this, but you can get some straight black plastic, and you can finally order a speed shape. A lot cheaper than ordering a car, and then get one of the kits and spray it and find out. That would have been the step by step. He didn't have to do it all at once. If you don't have everything that you need, you substitute till you do. Step by step. I'm going to do a step-by-step video on how if you are not a creative, or even if you are, how do you supplement your Hive income by curating other people's things. We're going to do that. We're going to have another crypto day. I really want you to be equipped to break through the patterns. There's other things that I'm doing. Like I said, this prompt engineering course. It's beating my butt. It's tough. It's a very different way of thinking about helping other people be creative. But having done it, helped my mind to be open to, okay, wait, y'all can adapt something that I'm doing. Even if you're not someone who feels like a writer or a blogger now, you don't have to wait on this, because the time to act is now. I don't want you to get caught out here. I can't run up your way to hill up, y'all. But if I had waited until I had lost enough weight and done enough of this and done enough of that, I'd never have gotten up that hill. We'll see if we can get to the top of it in June or July this year. Just start. And if someone is saying they ought to be able to lead you, you got to still figure out, where are they leading you? Are they leading you to leave 100% of the value of what you have on the table? Are they trying to eat it all up themselves and provide nothing to you? And are you willing to be ready to follow someone who wants to show you how to go from waiting on someone else to doing it for yourself? Are you ready for that? Mr. Gray and Ms. Gray have exactly the same problems. It's time to step out of it and step into being who you were called to be. All right. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.